You've been lied to your whole life. Not by some villain, not by a corrupt banker in a movie, by your parents, by your teachers, by every person who ever sat you down and said, just save your money and you'll be fine. And here's the brutal part. They believed it. They weren't lying to hurt you. They genuinely thought it was good advice. It's not. Right now, in February 2026, the average savings account in America is paying somewhere between 0.4% and 0.6% interest. That's the national average. Meanwhile, inflation is running at roughly 2.9%. That means every single dollar sitting in your savings account is losing about 2.3 cents of purchasing power every year. You are working hard, being responsible, following the rules, and you are quietly getting poorer. Not dramatically, not all at once, slowly, invisibly, like a slow leak in a tire. By the time you notice it, you're already on the side of the road. This is what I call the productivity trap. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, why almost everyone falls into it, and the specific moves that get you out. I'm Brian. Welcome to Brian Explains Finance. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down real money strategy in plain English so you can actually use it. Let's get into it. Part 1. The myth of safe money. Here's what they taught you. Work, spend less than you earn, put the difference in a savings account. Repeat until you have enough. Sounds reasonable, sounds responsible, sounds completely wrong. Because that advice was built for a different era. Your grandparents could park money in a savings account in the 1980s and earn 8%, 10%, sometimes 12% interest. Savings accounts were actually productive back then. They were genuinely building wealth. But we don't live in that world anymore. In 2026, if you have $20,000 sitting in a traditional savings account at 5%, after 1 year you've earned $100. $100. Meanwhile, inflation at 2.9% means that $20,000 can now only buy what $19,420 could buy a year ago. You didn't break even. You lost $480 in real purchasing power while thinking you were being responsible. That's not saving. That's managed poverty. Now, someone's going to say, Brian, what about high-yield savings accounts? Those are paying over 4%. And yes, that's true. High-yield savings accounts from places like Marcus, Ally, or SoFi are paying between 3.6 and 4.5% right now. That is genuinely better. If your emergency fund is sitting in one of those, good. You should be doing that. But here's where it still goes wrong. People treat high-yield savings like it's an investment strategy. They save $30,000, $40,000 into a high-yield account and feel like they're crushing it. They're not. At 4%, you're barely staying ahead of inflation. You're not building wealth. You're treading water. And treading water is exhausting, and it gets you nowhere. The trap isn't just about interest rates. The trap is a mindset. The belief that accumulating dollars in an account equals financial progress. It doesn't. What matters is what those dollars are doing while they sit there. And most dollars in savings accounts are doing absolutely nothing productive.
Here's a reframe that changed how I think about this completely. Money is not a destination. Money is a tool. And like any tool, if you leave it sitting on the workbench doing nothing, it rusts. Think about it this way. You wouldn't hire an employee and then tell them to just sit in a room and not do anything. That would be insane. You hired them to produce results, to generate value, to do something. Money works the same way. Every dollar you have is a tiny employee, and your job as the owner of those employees is to put them to work. When your money is in a savings account earning 0.5%, that employee is barely getting off the couch. When it's in a high-yield savings account at 4%, they're at least showing up and doing some light work. But when you invest it in a broad index fund that tracks the S&P 500, which has returned an average of about 10% per year over the last 100 years, now those employees are putting in full shifts. Let me show you what that difference actually looks like in real numbers. You have $20,000. You're 28 years old. Scenario 1. You keep it in a traditional savings account at 0.5%. For 30 years, after 30 years, you have $23,216. You barely made $3,000 in 3 decades, and after inflation, you actually have less purchasing power than when you started. Scenario 2. High-yield savings account at 4% for 30 years. After 30 years, you have $64,868. That's better, but you're 58 years old and you have $65,000. That's not retirement. That's a medium anxiety situation. Scenario 3. You invest that $20,000 in a total market index fund at a historically conservative 9% annual return. After 30 years, you have $265,000 from the same $20,000. No additional contributions, just one decision made once and then left alone. Same money, same person, same starting point. 3 completely different outcomes based entirely on where the money was sitting. And if you added just $300 a month on top of that initial $20,000 investment, after 30 years at 9%, you're looking at over $650,000. You contributed about $128,000 of your own money total. The market added over $520,000 on top. That's not a trick. That's not crypto. That's not a startup. That's just compound interest doing what it always does when you give it time and don't interrupt it. Part 3. Why smart people still fall into this trap. Now here's where it gets psychologically interesting, because this isn't really about math. The math is straightforward. The problem is the brain. Saving money feels safe. Investing feels risky. And our brains are wired, deeply wired, to avoid loss more than we seek gain. Psychologists call this loss aversion. The pain of losing $1,000 feels about twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining $1,000. So when you put money in a savings account, your brain registers that as protected, locked down, secure, no threat. When you put money in the stock market, your brain immediately starts calculating all the ways it could go down. What if there's a crash? What if I need it? What if it drops 30%? And yes, the market does go down. It went down in 2020. It went down in 2022. It will go down again. That's not a flaw. That's how it works. The volatility is the price you pay for the long-term return. But here's the thing people miss. Keeping money in a savings account has risk too. It's just invisible risk. It doesn't feel like losing, but you are losing, slowly, every year, to inflation. The productivity trap is choosing visible safety over invisible loss, when in reality, the invisible loss is more dangerous over time. And by the way, if you've been nodding along this whole time, do me a favor and hit subscribe. We put out real financial breakdowns every week. No fluff, no hype, just strategy you can actually use.
Okay, so now you're convinced that just saving isn't enough. Let's talk about where money should actually go, in the right order. Step 1. Kill high-interest debt first. If you have credit card debt at 20%, 22%, 24%, that debt is your first investment. Paying it off is a guaranteed 22% return. No investment on earth consistently gives you a guaranteed 22% return. Zero out that debt before anything else. Step 2. Build your emergency fund, but build it smart. You need 3 to 6 months of essential expenses set aside. If you're single with a stable income, 3 months is probably fine. If you have kids, a mortgage, or variable income, aim for 6 months. But don't put this in a regular savings account earning nothing. Put it in a high-yield savings account earning 4% or more. Marcus, Ally, SoFi, Bread Savings, they're all in that range right now. This money needs to be accessible, but it should still be working a little while it waits. Step 3. Max out a Roth IRA. For 2026, the contribution limit is $7,000 if you're under 50. If you can swing it, this is the single most powerful financial move available to an average American. Everything that grows inside a Roth IRA is tax-free. Not tax-deferred, tax-free. If you put $7,000 in at age 25 and it grows to $280,000 by the time you're 65, you pay $0 in tax on that $273,000 gain. None. Zero. The IRS doesn't touch it. In a taxable brokerage account, that same gain would cost you somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 in capital gains taxes. The Roth IRA is the government accidentally leaving a door open. You should walk through it every single year. Inside that Roth IRA, buy a broad index fund. VTI tracks the total U.S. stock market. VOO tracks the S&P 500. Both have an expense ratio of 0.03%. That means for every $10,000 you invest, you pay $3 a year in fees. That's it. This is not the time for picking stocks or chasing trends. Buy the index, set it, don't touch it. Step 4. Taxable brokerage account for everything beyond that. Once you've maxed your Roth IRA, open a regular brokerage account with Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard and keep investing in the same index funds. Set up automatic monthly contributions. Automate it so it happens without you having to make a decision every month. The decision fatigue is real, and automation removes it entirely. Part 5. The real productivity trap, lifestyle inflation. Now, I want to talk about the version of this trap that's harder to see, because some of you heard everything I just said and you're thinking, okay, I got it. Index funds, Roth IRA, got it. But then you're going to hit $25,000 saved, and something is going to shift in your brain. You're going to feel like you've earned something, like you deserve an upgrade, like it's finally time to stop living like a college student. And that feeling will be so reasonable, so justified, so completely capable of undoing everything you've built. Here's what lifestyle inflation actually looks like in practice. You get a raise, $600 more per month. Instead of investing it, you upgrade your apartment. $400 more in rent, $150 more in utilities, and suddenly your raise is gone before it ever had a chance to build anything. Or you hit a savings goal and celebrate with a vacation, a week in Mexico, flights, hotel, food, activities, $4,500. That's not a reward. That's burning 20% of what you worked 2 years to save in 7 days. Or the car. The car gets everyone. You've been driving something paid off for 5 years. It runs fine, but your coworker just got a new one and yours suddenly feels old. So you finance a new one at $420 a month. That's $5,040 a year. Invested at 9% over 30 years, that $420 per month becomes $780,000. You traded $780,000 in future wealth for a car that you'll be used to within 3 months and bored of within 2 years. The productivity trap isn't just about savings accounts. It's about every dollar you have that could be working for your future, that you're spending on looking successful in the present. The people who actually retire wealthy don't look wealthy on the way there. They drive regular cars, they live in reasonable houses, they take modest vacations, and then one day they're 55 with $1.8 million in their brokerage account, and nobody saw it coming because they never performed success. They just built it. Closing. The only question that matters. Here's where I want to leave you today. Every dollar you have is making a choice right now. Either it's working for you or it's slowly losing value. Either it's building your future or it's funding someone else's present through debt interest, through inflation, through lifestyle upgrades that feel amazing for 30 days and then just become the new normal. The productivity trap is real. It catches smart people, hardworking people, people who genuinely believe they're doing the right thing by saving. But now you know, saving in the wrong place is not safety, it's a slow drain. And the fix isn't complicated. Pay off the high-interest debt, build your emergency fund in a high-yield account, max your Roth IRA, buy the index fund, automate the contributions, and then leave it alone for as long as you possibly can. That's it. It's boring, it's not a hack, there's no secret, but boring is what actually works. Boring is what turns 20,000 into 350,000 without you doing anything clever. The people who retire with real money aren't smarter than you. They just stopped mistaking motion for progress. They stopped confusing a savings account balance with a wealth-building strategy, and they let their money do the work instead of sitting on the bench. Your money should be producing every day, while you sleep, while you work, while you live your life. Stop saving your way to poverty. Start putting your money to work.
I'm Brian. If this helped you, share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.